Hi, everyone. My name's Holly Sorgen, and welcome to the very first episode of Hyperdrive Beyond the Summit. This podcast was developed because we have so many women in our community who have amazing stories to tell, both of their personal and business journeys. For those who don't know me, I'm Holly Sorgen, Executive Director for Community Futures Grand Prairie region. Our office is the lead organizer for the Hyperdrive Women in Business Summit, and now Hyperdrive Beyond the Summit as well. We started Hyperdrive back in 2023 because, well, to be honest, a bias of mine. I have worked in economic development, worked with entrepreneurs for more than 25 years. And in that time, I can honestly say that the one bias that I have is working with female entrepreneurs, working with women. Part of that is because I see women as our community builders. I see them as those entrepreneurs that support one another, and they usually have a philanthropic reason for wanting to get into business, and they're very supportive of one another. I also recognize that a lot of the women that I work with may not have the same access to opportunities as their other counterparts, and we wanted to come up with something that would support women in a meaningful way. And so Hyperdrive was born. Hyperdrive, for those of you who might be sci-fi people, definitely means we're ramping up and we're going faster than light speed. We're going hyperdrive, which is actually what I think most women do. Once they feel confident enough to move, they hit the button and we are gone. And most of the time, it's hard for me to keep up. So that's really where Hyperdrive came from. We wanted to look for something that would support women in the fact that they could come together as women to talk about visceral things, to talk about business, to talk about things that impact their businesses. So giving them learning opportunities, giving them opportunities to take workshops, learn from subject matter experts, but more importantly, to connect with one another and really find their tribe in the women that are attending as well. So today is the first podcast of Hyperdrive Beyond the Summit. And with me today, I'm so excited, is Giselle Dussault. She's the owner of On Demand Promotional Products. And we are so happy to have her today as our seminal guest. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I have been in business for about 4 years in total, and it's going very, very well.
Yay!
Yes, I'm super happy with the direction that we're heading.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you came up with your business idea.
So I used to be a truck driver for about 14 years, and I spent a lot of time on the road by myself.
Lots of thinking time.
A lot of thinking time, yes. And I just used to craft and make things in my truck when I was bored. And
Cool.
It just snowballed into making promotional products.
Wow, that's awesome. So how did you come up with the on-demand aspect of that?
I knew there was a huge demand for people want it and they wanted it right now because there's shipping, Etsy. Right. You know, not everybody can afford or want to wait several weeks for Etsy to come in or, and, you know, they want to support local and there's a huge demand for it. So,
yeah, we like that instant gratification.
Exactly.
Right? We were just having this conversation about Christmas gifts.
Yes.
And we come up with an idea on like the 19th hour and hoping you can bail us, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. What inspired you to get into business?
I have always been super creative and I always felt like I wasn't reaching my full potential when I worked for somebody else. I have a lot of great ideas, and so far, they've all turned out. Yeah,
that's
really
phenomenal.
Good.
Yeah, I find a lot of times when I see clients who are kind of in the midst of starting a business, oftentimes they come in and I'm like, "So, what do you want to start a business?" And it varies, but most often it's like, I was really dissatisfied working for someone else.
Yes.
And often it's because of the confines and it's like, I know there's a better way to do this. And,
absolutely,
you know, you feel a little bit constricted by that. Did you feel that as well?
Yes, for sure. In so many avenues, including like, you know, hey, they've got this contract, but I'm like, but I could probably do a little bit better. And, you know, I would help my employers make this money. So why not make it for myself?
100%. I hear that a lot. It's like, you know, if I'm making this kind of money for my employer,
absolutely,
what can I do with my own business?
That's right.
And the cool thing is your boss could be pretty nice or not so nice, right?
Yes.
In your own business. So that's awesome. What's one thing about your career and your business journey that you haven't expected that has happened?
There's obviously the good and the bad with everything. But I'll give you two examples. For the good thing is how much confidence I gained in myself that working with people and teaching people to do what I do. Yes, it's been very fulfilling in many ways. And sometimes on the dark side, we have the amount of bullying that I have come into contact with.
In the industry? Or
No,
just
not so much my industry, just people who are not happy to see you succeed, even though there was no conflict to begin with. But it's taught me a lot. And because of those people, it just propels me forward. So
right. That's the difference between entrepreneurs and others.
Absolutely.
Is very often we're like, let me show you.
Exactly. And that's,
Oh, you think I can't?
Yes.
I have a solution for that.
You told me no? Okay. Thank
fine,
you.
but yes.
Yes. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about giving back and teaching others and that sort of stuff. What kinds of things are you involved in there?
So I have taught a few classes like at St. Joe's and Peace Wapiti Academy just to teach them how to make money and how to do sublimation, because there's so many avenues that people could take the same craft with and make it their own.
Absolutely.
And the confidence that you see them get, just like in myself, is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the projects that you're alluding to, I think, is our life skills group at St. Joe's.
Yes, that's exactly
and
it.
thank you for coming in to support. And that is an Entrepreneurs with Disabilities project that we're working on, and Tarla and Grace from our office are working on. And yeah, from what I can hear, what I've heard, what I can see is their confidence level goes up. You created such excitement that they could do anything and they could create anything. And so often those students and those kids don't always feel that sense of hope. They don't feel like they have value. And you're helping to provide that. So thank you on behalf of Community Futures and that
of course, thank you. I really do love it. It's amazing. Yes.
Yeah, Tarla was just like, oh, that was so amazing.
Yes.
And you know, it's kind of like, I always liken it to Charlie Brown, you know, when the teacher's talking, he's like, won't, won't, won't.
Yes.
That's how sometimes I think, you know, when teachers are trying to teach a topic that they don't really know, and then all of a sudden you bring a subject matter expert in and it resonates, right? And they get it.
Exactly.
And then they pursue it. And I think that's really cool.
Exactly. There's a lot of trials and tribulations when you do sublimation. So just the fact that I can go help them and steer them in the way, they'll figure it out themselves. But just that initial starter, I think, was super important for them to have.
Absolutely. It gives them confidence.
Exactly.
Right? And you talked about the confidence that you've started to see and been able to propel in your own business.
That's right.
That's awesome. If you were to think about traits of a good entrepreneur, and someone's to come to you and say, you know, Giselle, I'm thinking of starting a business. What do you think? Like, what do you think are those most important traits that you can be like, okay, just a warning.
You have to be able to rip it off like a Band-Aid. Don't think about it too much, because then you're going to overthink and you're going to rock your own self-worth and confidence.
Right?
Like of course you have to have some sort of plan, but just do it. Just do it.
I love it.
Because why not?
Really?
Just do it.
You're already fearing the worst.
Exactly.
So you might as well do it.
That's right.
And then find out if the worst is real.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And where are you going to go but up?
There you go.
You work for somebody else right now, so why not take a chance? You know, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but for those that do have the entrepreneurial skills, it's kind of holding back and devastating to work for somebody else. So yeah, just do it.
I think that's a really good point. And you talking about just do it. And I mean, Nike, you know, thank you.
Yeah, yes.
But at the end of the day, I find so many entrepreneurs who come in, they doubt themselves.
Yes.
So what are some of the ways that you could encourage them to not doubt themselves as much?
The things you doubt more, do it. And what I mean exactly by that, but like I used to think, oh my gosh, wonder if my designs aren't as good as the next person. That's okay that they're not.
Right.
But you don't know exactly. But you don't know that until you attend. Like I used to go to farmers markets in Grande Prairie, and I built a lot of confidence from there because people were like, wow, this is amazing. And you can do that. And I'm like, well, yes, I can. Actually, yes.
I am a businesswoman.
So yes, I think it's important to really do the things you fear the most. Yeah.
That is like the best nugget ever, because I think we allow those self-limiting beliefs to hold us back from being the best success we can. And I would actually wouldn't hesitate to say that a lot of women feel a lack of confidence going into business for a number of different reasons. And to have mentors like yourself that really show that you can push through that stuff and forge forward and establish your own identity, I think is so huge.
Yes.
Right?
And
Absolutely.
years ago, this was when I'm from Nova Scotia, and I used to be on social assistance when I first had my daughter in 1999 because there was just no money at all
Right.
and no jobs there. And it was mandatory that I attended a meeting in the library. And this one woman, I don't know who she was or where she came from, but she was a guest speaker. And she had said, I used to be in your position. And I have taken that core memory for me for my entire life.
Wow.
And probably 30 days after that meeting, I took my $900 welfare check and I flew to Alberta with my baby by myself. I knew nobody here. But I knew I was going to make it because if I would have stayed, that would have gave nothing. There would have been no hope for my daughter.
Wow. High five.
Yeah, that was absolutely unacceptable for me. So no matter what the cost was, I was coming.
Very cool.
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing. And I mean, I think that's one of those key pieces.
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
Am I able to take a risk?
Yep.
Calculate that risk, but still take it.
Yes.
Right? And jumping on a plane and coming to Alberta, a little bit risky. Yeah, I'm not
absolutely.
gonna lie.
I had everything to lose.
Wow.
I mean, I had bad credit because, I was in Nova Scotia, and I'm not proud to say that. I'm fine now, but, just at the time, I had a baby.
Right.
And
you didn't have a choice.
No, not really. If I want, it was sink or swim, and I wasn't sinking.
So tell me about your experience once you got to Alberta.
I had rented an apartment through somebody that I kind of knew, and when we got here, it was fraud.
Oh no!
So we spent a month at the Odyssey House. Thank God for them, because if it weren't for them giving us the opportunity, I can't say where I would be.
Absolutely.
So we are huge for giving back to them.
Very amazing organization. I've done some work with them as well. It's, very needed, which is unfortunate, but thankful.
Yes, I agree. It's a shame that it has to be, but it is what it is, and let's support all the way that we can. So I spent 30 days there. I got a job at Tim Hortons, and my first paycheck was $1,200. I could pay my rent, my phone bill, and I fed my daughter in the same paycheck. Wow. Can you believe, I was so taken back. I didn't know that people could pay everything in one paycheck.
Wow. You must be like a queen budgeter.
Well, you can't budget what you don't have.
This is true.
Right? So it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how did you make it from Tim Hortons to, aspiring
steps? Steps. I knew I needed to. My dreams are always bigger than my budget or what I'm able to do, but
lofty.
Yeah. It's just one step at a time. But even today, I'm still very grateful for my job at Tim Hortons because it taught me customer service. It taught me how to be self-disciplined, because there's a lot of people who will throw that cup at you or because you got it wrong. And yes, absolutely, you do get it wrong. Well, but you were a human. Yes. So it taught you a lot of humility and just to be patient.
Right.
Yep.
It's kind of funny because I find that a lot of the women, a lot of the clients that I work with come from the service industry.
Yes.
And they've kind of learned through the school of hard knocks how to be excellent at service.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I see business plans, and what I say is, what's your competitive advantage? And they'll say customer service. Okay, what does that actually mean, right?
Yes.
And it's really about that patience and that connection and the communication.
Hear what they're saying. Don't just listen to them. Hear them, what they want.
And that's essential for business success, I think.
Absolutely.
Sure. And we disparage some of that service hospitality work.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it sets this platform and this jumping off point to just be really good at what you do.
Yeah, and not that there was anything wrong with the service industry. I think it's great and wonderful, and it's a stepping stone for many people. Sure. But I had a lady that had came in, and she was so rude, and I had forgot, because she was so rude to me, I was frazzled, and I didn't know. I forgot my steps, right? And she had said, I wanted my fries first. And I went and got her fries, and I thought, you must be joking. If this is life, you must be joking. For me, dealing with, And like I said, I'm grateful for the service industry, but there's absolutely no need to speak to anybody like that. But for me, it didn't fit me because I had bigger dreams and I'm an entrepreneur. So
You could see past that. which is
absolutely, yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
So then from there, what did you do?
I got my class 2 to drive school bus, and I did that for about 4 years.
Whew.
I drove, and the reason why I took that job, it was terrible, but I took it because I wanted to raise my daughter.
Perfect.
So I worked at the Eastlink Center in the daycare, which was wonderful. I loved it. And I babysat a set of twins. I drove school bus so I could make my means. But like
All the things.
Alberta had that opportunity for me.
That's pretty cool.
I couldn't believe that they were going to pay for my class too.
Which is
amazing.
very cool.
Yes.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's a bunch of parents very thankful that there was a bus driver.
Yeah.
'Cause you never know
Yeah.
anymore. So
It was really
bus
good.
driving, working in
Yeah.
a daycare, childcare, service hospitality.
Yep. I did
How
everything and
did
anything.
what's the next step?
I went to, I remember one day somebody was just talking on the street and they were like, you could drive that with class 2. And I said, what? They said, you could drive that. And they pointed at a big rig. And I was like, right then, game on. So I learned how to drive a concrete truck.
You're kidding.
Yep.
Very cool.
And the reason why I went with concrete is because they were so desperate for hiring people. And I was like, right, that's my way in.
Absolutely.
So I went.
You saw the opportunity.
Yep, and I did it.
Made the opening.
Yep. I was their driver trainer within 2 months.
Yep. Ambition. They could see that leadership
Yes.
potential,
Yep.
right? And they wanted to harness it.
Yes.
But obviously they didn't get to keep you. So then what did you do?
No, I went to, I started driving Hyperdrive, and it was something. It was something. I did that for about 14 years in total. Yeah. And I stopped because I just didn't want to work for anybody anymore. And my back was hurting. And
Kind of at that point where it's like,
yeah,
if
it was,
not now, when?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly. So I had amazing experiences through that. And my daughter actually grew up to drive a hydrovac, and she was a better driver than I was. So I was like, this is good. This is good.
Succession.
Yes.
Passing on the torch.
Yes. And, but I didn't want my daughter to spend her life on location like I did.
Fair.
And not that there was anything wrong with that. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I was given, but I don't want that for my daughter.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's what makes us great parents is being like, I want you to have a better life than I did, and put those steps in place, and they do the work.
yes.
Right? That's
Yes,
huge.
exactly. And now we're at a wonderful spot in life, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about On Demand and how that became a reality.
So that is a whole other entity in itself.
Yeah.
I will tell you. It started off with sublimating cups in my daughter's living room.
Love it.
I was just going through a divorce at the time, and so I moved to Grande Prairie from Sherwood Park to be with my daughter. And her and I used to we started making cups at my living room for sublimation. And I would go to the farmer's market, and, you know, it was just a girl's day
There's
kind
a
of
social
thing.
piece to that. for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. And the next thing you know, I am doing embroidery and I am printing banners. And
Gap in the
making-
market. Got to
Yeah.
do things. Someone asked for something. I guess I'm adding a service.
Absolutely. That's exactly how that went.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you know what I find a lot of times is I've heard a lot of really great business professionals say, you know, be married to your business. You know, love it, understand it, believe in you, but don't be married to the idea. Don't be married to the process, because
100%.
if you are, then sometimes that can be your slippery slope, and you don't want to go down
Yeah.
with the ship. So can you tell me a time that you like pivoted or changed direction because you could see something coming?
For sure. Pivoting is on a daily basis. And
Oh,
no
yeah.
matter what industry, you have to be okay with pivoting. And for those that aren't okay with pivoting, just kind of think of it as like adding a service, or this is your next client,
Adding
you know?
value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Adding value. I am not good with sewing. I had never sewn in my life.
I'm more of a speed sower.
Yeah, like, yeah,
Stick it.
yes. And people kept asking for embroidery over and over and over. And I was like, but you just got to do it. And I will tell you, it opened up a whole world for me. Not just financially, but the people you meet and being able to discuss about embroidery, I would never have known that.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if you didn't explore that, you wouldn't have known.
Absolutely.
And you kind of would have been stuck a little bit. And I mean, at the end of the day, change is good, and evolution, I think,
Yes.
is really important as
Yes.
well. Changing gears a little bit, kind of looking at your business from that 30,000 foot view and what motivates you and what keeps you going. Tell me a little bit about mentors in your life.
Mentors. I will have to say I get a lot of great advice from Sarah.
Perfect.
Yep, she's pretty good. I don't really have a whole lot of mentors, to be honest.
Totally fair.
Yeah, I'm pretty self-sufficient.
Do you do a lot of your own research and things like that?
Yes, 100%.
And that's really mentorship, because all of
Yeah.
those subject matter experts that are sharing that information, you're just taking it in, retooling,
Yes.
and making it your own.
Yes, and like there's always YouTube University, right? Which is
Right.
fantastic until it's not, because there's always a piece missing.
And you're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm like, how else can this has got to work some other way, because it is not providing the product that they're announcing, right? Which okay, I get, but yeah, it's just about playing, and like you don't have to get perfect every time, but that's part of your journey, you know.
Totally.
It's frustrating for sure, but
Oh, yeah.
you'll get there, and it's amazing when you get there.
Right, and it makes this really thick skin.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
goodness. Right?
Thank God, yes.
Calluses all over.
Yes, pretty much.
So if you were to look back at how you started On Demand and kind of how you progressed, if you had the ability to just start over again, knowing what you know now, is there anything, or what would you do differently?
I don't think I would do anything different.
Really?
Yep, 100%. And the reason why is because I've met the people that I have met who, not that they're crucial financially to my business, but like, I think there's a lot more to business than just financial, you know, like this morning, for instance, I needed my hair and makeup done. And because of the relationship I built, because of On Demand, she was there for me. Like it is even though business is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's worth it because of who you meet and why you meet them. And you may not always know. And sometimes it's not always good, but it ends up being good.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'm really happy with that.
Trying to figure out, like, why is the universe doing it? There's a reason here, because I keep doing it and it keeps thwarting me. So
Yes.
that's awesome. And, you know, I think it's really interesting when we make a mistake, to be able to look at it and say, this is a valuable learning
Yes.
opportunity to grow and get better.
Yes.
Next time that won't be the mistake. You'll be able to solve it for somebody else as you're training them or whatever. as
Yes,
well. So that's pretty
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Tell me about, I always hear this stuff, because usually I don't hear from a client unless there's a crisis or there's something like that. Tell us a little bit about challenges that you've experienced and how you've overcome them.
Oh boy. A lot of the challenge that I deal with on a daily basis is sometimes people's vision is not the same as yours because you're two different people. So you try to minimize that by, you know, drawing with them or showing them what it is, but it's different digitally than it is in person. And sometimes people ask for a certain service that it's actually they wanted the complete opposite.
But
so
they don't actually know what that service
that's
even was.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. But you have to do the best you can with what you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if it's not right, for me, as long as my costs are covered, I will sit there and do it with you. Yeah, that's right. So
That's kind of beautiful, I think, and maybe one of your unique value propositions as that ability to kind of personalize and take people through that learning, so that we better understand the next time we come to you with an issue or
Yes.
problem or something that we need you to solve, that we know what we're trying to ask you for.
Yes. And sometimes even though your customer doesn't do what you do, it doesn't mean that while you're explaining to them that you can't teach yourself something or that they can't teach you. Like there's always a teachable moment. So even though like it's not always easy, but it's definitely wonderful.
And do you find that even through some of that adversarial stuff or through the biggest challenges, do you feel that there's a sense of satisfaction when you overcome them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes you're like, I can't believe I made it through
Right?
that. Like,
That's so true.
did you all see that?
everybody else is like, high five, moving on.
Absolutely. Yes. It's there's so many instances like that.
I love that. That's awesome. Now, you had talked earlier about giving back, and we talked a little bit about how you give back and educate. What are some of the other ways that your business is able to give back to those passion projects or passion organizations?
So I'll use an example this year. We were able to make the merchandise for Grand Con 2023 or 2024, sorry.
Right.
And I had been praying that I would get that because of Odyssey House. So I
Such
actually,
a major thing for them,
it's
right?
such a big thing, yes. And I had a full circle moment this year because I was able to donate back to Odyssey House.
Gives me goosebumps.
Yep. So not
So cool.
only did my life change because of they gave me that that opportunity to be there,
Huge.
I was able to make merchandise in support of
Love
Odyssey
that.
House.
That
And
is a huge full circle.
it was so beautiful. And even still to this day, like that will always affect me in a positive manner. But I was able to also go to the bank and get a check to donate back to them. Like it was
Yeah.
incredible. And that will forever be
You got to check off
a memory. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. And I talked earlier about how a lot of times I find when I work with women, you come into it with a different philosophy. And I'm, not to disparage any other populations or whatever.
Of course.
And often I have a lot of female clients where I'm like, why do you want to get into business? And what are the outcomes? What is it that you want to achieve? And it's like 90% of the time they're like, I want to be able to give back to this. I want to give my daughter a better life. I want to be able to give this organization that.
Yeah.
I want to change the world. And often I kind of challenge back, well, don't you want to make any money? Because often what you'll hear from other clients is make money, like duh. And so what I always kind of come back to is, yes, we have this philanthropic, intrinsic desire to do great things in the community. We want to build those communities. We want to build the village that creates those and builds the children. But we have to make money to do it.
Yes.
And this is a perfect example of what you've been able to do with Odyssey House is you were able to make the money, to do the things, to connect the dots, to give back.
Yes.
And I think ideally, if I was to put words in almost every woman's mouth that I've talked to in business, that is like, wah,
Yep.
I've made it.
That 100%.
It's a fleeting moment.
Yes.
But it's one that you can fall back on.
Yep.
Right?
Yes. And it definitely still to this day will keep me propelling forward. Like it definitely fuels me for sure. Because what an amazing life experience that is. Yeah.
So what's next for On Demand?
Oh, there's very big things in the works for sure. Yes. But that's just kind of my nature. Like it's always, I'm a bigger than life personality and yeah, never, because there's never time to settle.
Right.
But I think it's a wonderful personality trait for people in business, I'm hoping to be able to bring people with me where I want to go.
Cool.
And speaking of the learning, I'm sorry, what was the name of the
life skills?
The
class?
life skills, the life skills program. I'm hoping to grow that.
Absolutely.
I have a sister that has Turner syndrome, and I raised her as well as my mom for a good part of her life. And she's back in Nova Scotia, unfortunately. But it really hits home for me to be able to do those types of things and just build confidence. And there's a lot of things in the works, so I'm super excited.
I know, it's like waited with bated breath, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So if you, and I think I asked this question, but I'm going to turn around a little bit. What is the nugget of information or nugget of knowledge that you could share with any other woman who is having doubts about getting into business?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just whatever you're thinking about, if you can raise a husband and kids and clean the house, this is easy.
Right.
Because all you have to worry about is yourself, Just do it. Just rip it off like a Band-Aid. And if it doesn't work the first time, just make minor adjustments and do it differently.
Right.
But for the love of God, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's huge. And I think that I probably tend to be way more like, oh, it's fine. It'll be fine. And so many of my clients are like, it's not fine. But we get there.
Yes.
And I think so often it's really, do you believe in yourself enough? And you clearly believe in yourself enough. I think every woman that I work with, I wish they could see themselves through my eyes because I believe in them.
Yes.
And I believe in them enough to be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Here. And they're just like, what am I doing?
Yes.
Because I can see such value in every person that comes through that door. And they might have had life kind of deal them a really bad hand.
Yes.
But you can give it back and get another hand.
Absolutely. And that hand that you were dealt, I mean, for my personal self, has fueled me right to the moon. Like, but that's just my personality. But I think more people need to appreciate those moments. And I think for myself as a person that's a business owner, I think I have a role to show them that they can do it. So it doesn't always have to be words. Just show up for them. Because if you show up for them, then they'll eventually think, well, she's showing up for me.
Yep.
So show up for those that are important are the biggest thing you can do in my eyes.
I think that's great advice.
Yes.
And I think there's such strength in showing up for one another.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's what makes even the business community in this region, you know, as strong as it is. You talked about different industries having cattiness and that kind of stuff. And we certainly see that. Competition is what it is.
Absolutely.
Business is what it is. But at the end of the day, I've seen, you know, like-minded businesses in the same industry are very competitive, come together for really great causes, come together for big projects and show up for one another, because who else is going to show up if it's not local business supporting business, right? So I think that has been so amazing to watch businesses like yourselves that give back to the community and see the value in each other and working within your own value chains and supporting local businesses and that kind of stuff, which I think is just so magical.
I do too. Yes, it's there's several promotional companies in Grande Prairie, and I work behind the scenes with most of them. Like if somebody runs out of ink, girl, I gotcha.
Nice.
Like, and we all do it because those are the things that are going to propel those women forward in believing in themselves. And if you have a stronger net, then you can be resilient to more things. So I think it's super important.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talked about resilience.
Yes.
And perfect segue. Our theme going into Hyperdrive 2025 is about resilience and really about how do we weather the storm. And we've seen a lot of storms, I think, recently. We've seen ups and downs. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yes, there is.
And I just want to thank you for the message that you bring forward, because it's not bells and whistles. It's really about knowing, have your eye on the prize. Just do it.
Yes.
Try it. You know, be able to be nimble and agile enough to take advantage of opportunities and change. Being part of, you know, a larger group and supporting one another, creating that kind of cluster of information, supporting the community. Like those are all, if I could be so bold as to say, you've set up best practices for a whole bunch of aspiring female entrepreneurs coming forward. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully having you join us at Hyperdrive, because I know you're a super supporter of the summit. And I also want to say thank you so much for being here today, being our first podcast. Your
exciting. Story
is so inspiring.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it at Community Futures. We appreciate it as women who also support women entrepreneurs. And I wish you the very best in some of the really cool stuff that you have coming up.
Thank you. It's going to be very exciting for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Giselle. Thank you, everybody. My name is Holly Sorgen, Executive Director for Community Futures Grande Prairie region. This is the first Hyperdrive Beyond the Summit podcast. Looking forward to talking with you all again next time, and looking forward to seeing you at Community Futures Grande Prairie region. Thanks, and have a great day.